So Robert, this is my favourite bit of a distillery. We're standing here in front of these hundreds of casks that have been sitting here for years, and the smell is just amazing. It's, as Robert says, it's a pity you don't have smell-o-vision. It's just the aroma in here is just fantastic, just the smell of whiskey.
What you're actually getting in here is that during the maturation stage of the spirit, there's an interaction between the spirit and the wood. And it's all American oak or all oak cask that we use. And that interaction between the wood allows the cask to breathe. And every year, we lose about 2% to what we call the angel share. So what you're smelling in here is basically the maturing whiskey just evaporating into the air. So it's I don't think you would actually get drunk if you were staying in here too long, but you can maybe get a little bit lightheaded.
So how many barrels have you got in here, Robert?
In these two sections, I've got 12,000, and in total on site, I've got 120,000 casks maturing, right from 1965 when the distillery was built, right through to obviously the present day.
How many casks of 65 have you got left?
One.
Just the one?
Just the one. We've got one cask of 1965, just a handful of 1966. Predominantly we're a blending company, so most of our blends are anything from 3 years old up to 10 years old. So we only keep back maybe limited amounts for the 16 and the 25 and the older stuff. Because that's not our mainstream. Our mainstream is our blended whiskies. But the single malt whiskey is very important to us, so we're now having to plan ahead by keeping more and more stock for the older whiskies. So in here, by law, Scotch whiskey must be matured for 3 years before it can be called Scotch. Up until then, it's called new spirit. So as I said earlier, when we fill the cask with new spirit, we just don't know what we're going to use it for, what we're going to keep it for. So we've got, as I say, 120,000 casks, and we sample the casks on a regular basis, not all of them, but the ones that we want to keep for the older single malt whiskies, we sample those on a more frequent basis. Two types of maturation. This is racked stowing. Very easy to select the cask from the rack. The next type of stowing you see will be palletizing, which is mainly for our blends because the method of stowing doesn't allow you to pick and choose the casks that you're wanting.
So 6 in a pallet, 6 casks in a pallet?
Yep, and 7 pallets high. So in this section here, we can hold 10,000 casks. And as you can see, it's built like one big Rubik cube, which means that if you owned one of the casks in the middle there, which was sort of second high, you haven't a hope of getting it because so you take the first one that's in the row, and that's why this is used for our bulk blends. And after we're finished here, I'll take you up onto our blend vats because the big blend vats hold 100,000 bulk liters. So you can imagine that we're going to disgorge a lot of these casks as they come. But all of the stock in here is our stock for our customers' blends, not for selling to other customers.
Definitely a change from traditional way of maturing whiskey, but it's more economic, yeah?
Well, yeah, when I started in the business, they had racked warehouses, but the old dunnage style, which I'm sure maybe you've seen somewhere else, where they take the casks on the earthen floor and then they've got rails and they put casks on top. You can only really go 3, maybe 4 high. And again, a lot of the old guard would suggest that the maturation in an old dunnage warehouse with an earthen floor, with the fungus growing in the ground and the cobwebs and the mustiness, helps to the maturation. Unfortunately, we don't have any dunnage casks, dunnage warehousings here, but yeah, it's...
You still produce a great whiskey.
We still produce a fantastic single malt, yes.